We're going to start the session in a couple of minutes. Just let me know if you can hear me properly or not. In the comment section, just say a hi or just say that you can listen to me perfectly. Sure, great. Okay, let's just wait for a couple of minutes so that more people can join in, and then we can definitely start the session. Introduce our speaker today. Our speaker is Rajat Mohan sir. If you've attended our previous webinars, he taken another webinar um, on GST implication on gaming industry. This time he is going to talk about search and seizure under GST. He is going to cover a couple of aspects, say relating to inspection, relating to summons under GST. He'll be talking about a couple of landmark judgments as well. He has a demonstrated history of authoring more than half a dozen books on indirect tax, and his books have been published on through Tax Sutra, Walter Kluwer, and Bharat Law House Private Limited. He also regularly conducts workshops and has trained more than 5,500 professionals and corporate executives around GST. About us, Masters India is actually a GST Suvidha provider company. We basically build intuitive software solutions for complex problems. You can access the PPT on the handout section, which Rajat sir is going to demonstrate here. So we can definitely start the session, sir, I think.
Thank you. You can hear me, Sakshi, right?
Yeah. So you're audible.
Okay.
You can
Can
start
you
the session.
make this slide full screen
Yeah, I've
on
done that.
my screen at least?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So very good evening, all of you. So let's start this session with regard to search and seizure. Please note that this section will be only related to GST aspects, and this will prima facie cover inspection, search, seizure, access to business premises, summons, and something related to income tax also. Only from the point of view of GST, please. So everyone would appreciate in today's scenario under GST, the departments are going all out to recover taxes from you, to make demands against you, to recover interest, penalties. So after I had a discussion with Masters India, we wanted to create a certain deck for all the businesses whereby they can understand what are their rights, what are their responsibilities, what are the risks, what do we mean by inspection, what do we mean by search, when can our goods be seized, when can they be sold, what else so once the authority is there, what else we can do, what does court says, everything else. And Masters India through Sakshi has requested me to cover some few landmark judgment, but we have covered lot of judgments in this. I have given quotations also, I have given citations also. So wherever after the completing of the session, you can of course download these slides for your for future purposes. And now start with the first slide. Basically, this is the entire summary of what inspection is and what search seizure is. First of all, understand the provisions with regard to inspection and search seizure given in GST law is very small. Maybe in one page, 1.5 page, you are you will completely read all the provisions. Whereas the chapter actually the chapter is so large that even if you spend 10 days on, understanding, reading, writing, researching, you can write plethora of books on this, because the judgments have actually drafted the provisions. So first of all, section 16(7) says what is inspection, what is search seizure. And this is only introductory slide, whereby inspection, if you're reading for the first time, it is a very, very soft provision whereby a tax officer can come to your premises, check your goods, check your accounts, check your balance sheets, and there's nothing more to suspect. Usually the inspection will go on around for a couple of hours, 2 hours to 4 hours to 5 hours to 10 hours. But at times they sit late, at times they sit late. Whereas search and seizure is a very, very harsh provision. It is taken up under the criminal code of procedures, which is very harsh in itself. So thereby first we will go and understand what inspection is, and then we will follow with search and seizure. Inspection. So section 67(1) stipulates that a proper officer not below the rank of a joint commissioner. So when we say not below the rank of the joint commissioner, it means that a certain senior officer can only do an inspection whereby he has a reasons to believe. So he must have reasons to believe. This is a very, very important term. All the terms are very important. I said there is only one provision for entire inspection, search and seizure. So this is the main provision that we are reading. A proper officer who is not below the rank of the joint commissioner, meaning the inspection cannot be taken up by junior officers. It has to be taken up by a senior officer, whereby he has a reason to believe that you as a taxable person has suppressed any transaction for supply of goods or services, or you have suppressed your stock, or you have claimed your excess input tax credit. So three conditions: one is supply, one is stock, and the third is input tax credit or any other provisions of the act. In such scenario, such senior person may authorize in writing, so authorization has to be in writing, to any other officer to inspect your place of business. So first of all, understand that a senior level employee, when he feels, a senior level officer, when he feels or has reasons to believe that you have suppressed three things: one is supply, one is stock, another is input tax credit, then only he can authorize someone else in writing to inspect your business. The authorization has to be in a specific form, which is GST INS 01. So now for next half an hour or so, we will try and break each of the words. What does this mean? What does joint commissioner means? So joint commissioner, so there are two laws. First of all, we understand CGST and SGST. Under CGST, the left side stipulates, my left side, your maybe right side, left side stipulates all the officers. If you'll see from down, we have assistant commissioners. Over them, we have deputy commissioners. Then people under joint commissioner, additional commissioner, commissioner, principal commissioner, chief commissioner, principal chief commissioner. So all these people can authorize. So in short, assistant commissioner, deputy commissioners cannot authorize. Similarly, on the right side, when we see SGST law, the junior most officers are additional commissioners and deputy commissioners. They cannot authorize. Any person above them can authorize for an inspection, right? So first, we have already read that in three circumstances or four circumstances, an inspection can be authorized when he feels, he has reasons to believe that you have suppressed any transaction related to supply, or you have suppressed stock in hand. Third is excess claim of input tax credit or contravention of any of the provisions. So fourth provision, this is sundry provision. Let us park it. So majorly three provisions. Okay. The next is, if you're not the taxable person yourself, but you are a transporter or a warehouse operator or any other person who has kept the goods of some other person which has escaped payment of tax, meaning thereby you are not the person who is directly involved in the evasion of tax. However, you are just assisting, whether by way of transportation or by way of a warehouse, in keeping the goods that have escaped taxation. Meaning thereby, in short, if there is any warehouse operator or any transporter who is found in possession of a certain goods without a invoice, So you must have an invoice, tax invoice, whether it's a GST invoice or it's a bill of supply. If you do not have certain goods without under the cover of an invoice, then the person can order for inspection, right? So these are the two provisions in which inspection can be ordered. Now, first, inspection is a very, very soft provision. It does not allow seizure or confiscation. So during the course of inspection, no one can come to your office and tell you that we will take these goods, we'll take your vehicles, we'll take your jewelry, we'll take your cash. That is not so. Seizure or confiscation per se is not permitted. Point number one. Point number two, in case of Balaji Auto Spares, it was held that enforcement wing officials have no jurisdiction to collect taxes at the time of inspection. Please note, there are plethora of rulings whereby we have also seen cases whereby an officer will come to your office, he'll sit down in your office, he'll not permit you to leave the premises until unless you deposit certain tax with him. So law says that collection of taxes at the time of inspection is not permitted. Only what is permitted is he can collect information, he can collect documents, he can ask you to give certain statements. All that is possible, but he cannot collect taxes. If he collects taxes, of course, under coercion, you may pay those taxes, but you can eventually file a writ application on the basis of Balaji Auto saying that but these are the taxes that has been recovered by enforcement wing, which is not permissible under Constitution of India also. Thereby, the entire amount of refund will come back to you. This was the second point. Third point, very, very important. Many a times what happens is during, when inspection is being conducted, you will say that, department is already auditing under section 65, or I have been auditing by a chartered accountant, or there is a notice that has been going on. So in this case of Suresh Kumar PP versus Deputy Director, Honorable Kerala High Court said that there is no problem in inspection even if the person has already been audited or his books are already under audit, meaning thereby audit and investigation can go simultaneously hand in hand. So 3 points, very clear. Now, if we'll go back, so we'll have to go back to definition, main definition once again. So where the proper officer not below the rank of a joint commission, this we have understood, this, that. He may authorize in writing to a central tax office to inspect any place. So please note that under the provisions of inspection, only a place of business can be inspected. Your residential accommodation, your accommodation of your employees, house of your employees, all this cannot be inspected. So officer or a team of officer can come to the business premises only of the taxpayer. He cannot go beyond business premises. Now, what does a business premises or a place of business constitute? Section 2, subsection 85 states that place of business includes a place from where the business is ordinarily carried out. It will include warehouses, it will include godowns, or any other place where you are storing your goods or receiving your goods or services. So in case the director's house is the place whereby all the goods have been received or stored, then yes, the inspection can be carried out at that premises also. Point number two, a place where taxable person is maintaining books of accounts. If you will note, under the provisions of Companies Act, you are required to register the premises where the books of accounts of the company are being maintained. In very few cases, what happens is you do not maintain the books of accounts at the registered premises itself. Instead of uh, that, you maintain it at some other places, maybe at the premises of a chartered accountant or a consultant or a residential accommodation of directors because of a number of reasons. In such cases, my GST law says that the place where the books of accounts have been maintained will also be taken as the place of business, and a inspection can be taken up at that place also. Third, taxable person is engaged in the business of the agent, then at the premises of agent also a inspection can be done, because agent is no one, he's acting on your behalf. If he's acting on your behalf, of course it can be kept, right? In one of the cases where again it was held in certain case, the books of accounts of a particular company was kept at the residence of a director, and inspection was conducted at his premises. It was held that inspection was valid because the place where books of accounts of the company are being held, it is considered as a place of business only. So very, very important. If you are maintaining the books of accounts of the company, even if it is not registered under Companies Act, still you are maintaining that books of accounts at the residence of the director, then the residence of the director can be inspected. All right. So one of the very important points, many times what we see is in case of MSMEs, people, usually operate from home. Let's leave COVID apart, but people usually operate from home in case of MSMEs, whereby a house is divided into two parts: the front portion, the back portion, or the ground floor and the first floor, or certain between the floors. So the question that was put to me some time ago was, if let us suppose my house has been divided into two floors, one is a ground floor, one is first floor. On the first floor, I have a residential accommodation. On the ground floor, I have a business premises. I have my office. Can a search be conducted at both the places, that is at the ground floor as well as the first floor? So practically speaking, answer is yes. Legally speaking, answer is no. Now, why do I differentiate in this answer is, at the time when a search is conducted, inspection is conducted, the officer does not know that your books of accounts are lying at the ground floor only. It is not lying at the first floor. Right. So it is very, very important for you to understand that in case you operate in such a manner, then at the outset, on the first entry point itself, you must have a board whereby you should write that business premises of ABC Private Limited at the ground floor. First floor, Mr. Rajat Mohan is living. So first of all, your first instance, it should be very clear at the entry point first. Second, once I enter the premises, there is of course a staircase for the first floor. At the entry point of the first floor itself, it should be very clearly written that is the residence of Mr. Rajat Mohan. Take it. Second, third point, in case you have certain house tax receipts, in case you have certain telephone, the bills must also clearly indicate that the office premises is different and business premises and residential premises is different. If you undertake this kind of methodology, then at the time of inspection, you are requested to kindly tell these facts to the officer, which will debar him from moving to the first floor. So first of all, there should be clarity of the presence in which what activity is taking. It should be very evident from the entry point itself. And this information you need to give to the senior most officer at the time of inspection also. If you do all those two, three things, then you will save yourself from the extended extension. Because I'll tell you, I once got a very uh, difficult or a different case whereby inspection was to be conducted at the first floor of a residence. Whereas, because there was no nameplate in front, thereby officers went into the entire building of fourth floor and searched the inside out. And please note, at the first floor itself, there was a small amount of 1 or 2 lakhs that was lying in the first floor. Whereas at the upper floors, which belongs to someone else, some other taxpayer, there was more than 2 crore rupees lying in his house because he has recently sold an immobile property. So the entire 2 crore rupees was taken up by the tax officers and has not been returned even in last 1 year. So please make sure that your presents are separately done and they are very clearly evident on the entry point itself. So now if we remember, then a person not below the rank of a joint commissioner can order for inspection only when he has reasons to believe that you have surprised. So what do we mean by reasons to believe? So as per the FAQs issued by Central Board of Indirect Taxes, right, and Customs, reasons to believe is to have knowledge of the facts which, although not amounting to direct knowledge, would cause a reasonable person to reasonably conclude the same thing. So first of all, let us suppose there is a particular fact. So let us suppose I'm sitting in front of you. This is a fact. This is not a reason to believe. This is much beyond that. This is a fact. So this is not a reason to believe. This is a fact because you yourself has seen that, because you have a direct knowledge of the same. So let us suppose you saw me today and I gave a presentation. After that, you went to your wife and tell him that you have taken the presentation of Mr. Rajat Mohan. For wife, She does not have direct knowledge that I gave the presentation, but she has a reason to believe whatever her husband is saying is correct, because in the past you have always been saying truth. This is what she believes. So reason to believe is to have knowledge of the facts which, although not amounting to direct knowledge, but would cause a reasonable person to reasonably conclude the same thing. Meaning thereby, whatever you have communicated to your wife, if you would have communicated to some other person, he would also conclude that you are right. This is known as reasons to believe. So first is a factual, whereby you have a direct knowledge. If you do not have that, you have reasons to believe, right? Section 26 of the IPC 1860 says the person is said to have a reasons to believe a thing if he has sufficient cause to believe that thing, but not otherwise. Meaning thereby, if someone is telling you that Mr. Rajat Mohan has given the session and you do not have sufficient cause to disagree with him, then of course it is a reasons to believe for you as per IPC. Right? Reasons to believe contemplates an objective determination based on intelligent care and evaluation, and is distinguished from a purely subjective consideration. It must be that of an honest and a reasonable person, meaning thereby I cannot say, so honest, and this has to be an honest and reasonable person. What will he conclude based upon the same facts? Next, reasons to believe it is not mandatory for the tax officer when he is ordering to record it in writing, but it is always advisable. Guys, I have never ever, in a good case, I've never ever seen people not recording the reasons at the writing, because this point is always so in case of big inspections or searches, this is always litigated, that a tax payer will at the end will ask them what was the reasons to believe. So if it is not on the file, the case or department becomes very weak. So practically, I have seen every officers to record what are the reasons to believe in this case. Next, if you will remember, what we have read is any proper officer not below the rank of a joint commissioner, because he's a senior officer, can authorize his junior officer to conduct an inspection. So one of the case that came before the honorable court was, can a senior officer, because this has happened in number of cases, can a senior officer say that I hereby give you the entire power to conduct inspection in any of the cases, so in the jurisdiction itself, maybe in the jurisdiction of Delhi? Can a senior officer, let's suppose the commissioner himself, say that I hereby authorize Mr. Ramlal to conduct search or to conduct inspection in case of any taxpayer in his jurisdiction? Is this possible? So the answer is no. The reason is, the reasons to believe is required to be formulated by a senior officer. So meaning thereby, a blanket power cannot be delegated. Only a case to case basis you may authorize, because the reasons to believe in this case based upon the facts of the case is required to be recorded by a senior officer who is not below the rank of the joint commissioner. So in case if you find on record that the reasons to believe does not belong to a senior officer but belong to a junior officer, then in such case the case is thrown out of the window, and it is ultra vires the provisions of the law. Next, the reasons to believe must be formed before an order or authorization for inspection has been made. बहुत बार cases में क्या होता है, an officer will come to your office, he'll start scrutinizing, he'll start searching, he'll start checking the things, and then he will feel that you have not reported certain transactions of the supply. Because you have not reported, now he will draw up a document and say that I am authorized for inspection because you have suppressed your supply. So this is not possible. What is possible in case of Dhaka Commercial Corporation 1983, it was written that before an inspection, the officer must have reasons to believe, before an search and seizure, must formulate reasons to believe before the giving the power. So that is a very, very important point. Guys, please note the provisions of inspection and search and seizure are almost synchronized. The language is almost same. So we'll spend a lot of time in discussing various words in inspection, which will of course be same and carried forward in the search and seizure also. So next we come to the judgment of Andhra Pradesh High Court, whereby it was held that it is not possible to lay down precisely as to what constitutes a reasonable belief. So reasons to believe will change according to the facts of the case in every case. So Andhra Pradesh High Court noticed this in the case of Raj Bahadur Seth Sri Ram, whereby he said it is not possible to live. And my dear friends, you would have noticed the case laws. So GST came in 2017, but various of the judgments are of 1965. So please note that the provisions with regard to search and seizure are almost similar, whether it's in customs, income tax, excise, VAT, or anything else. Thereby, the language, the interpretation, the jurisprudence is all carried forward as it is in GST regime. So we are talking about the case laws of the excise and customs regime, and these are very much applicable. Don't worry about that. Okay, next. Officer must be in possession of the information that alone can proceed to search and seizure as the case may be. Meaning, thereby, it is the responsibility of the officer to be in possession of the information or material that he can process and say that he has reasons to believe. Next, in the Supreme Court held that the court can examine the material. So Shionath Singh versus Appellate Assistant 1971. This is the case law whereby Supreme Court held that courts can examine the material to find out whether an honest and reasonable man can base his reasonable belief upon such facts or not. So courts can examine the material, right? If challenged, the proper officer must disclose material upon which belief is formed. Meaning thereby, if you will remember, I have already said the reasons that belief must be formed. It may or may not be in writing. It it is certainly not required to be supplied to the taxpayer. However, when it is contested in courts, then of course the officer is required to submit the ground, submit the facts, submit the information based upon he formed his reasons to believe. Next, Supreme Court said in Lakshmi Mani Mewal Das in 1976, then reasons to believe must be held in good faith and cannot be mere pretense. Mere pretense मतलब झूठ मूठ से नहीं बना सकते हैं. It has to be act as a good faith. Reasons to believe cannot be based on interpretation. So very very important. Under GST, lot of litigation is based upon ये tax rate ये होगा, HSN ये होगा. So these are all interpretational issues कि वो 0% में आएगा, 5% में आएगा, 5 में आएगा, 12 में आएगा, 12 में आएगा, 18 में आएगा, HSN 01 है कि 02. So all these problems, all these issues are nothing but interpretational issues. In case of interpretational issues, there is no reason to believe, there is no reason to believe there cannot be an order for inspection, right? Allahabad High Court has, in Rinjim Ispat Limited, has said that reasons to believe should not be fanciful. And बहुत बार क्या होता है, many times officer are very stagnant. बहुत बार नहीं बोलूंगा, in most of the times the officer are very very focused about increasing the revenue of their commissionerate or range, and they will just pick up the limit, the taxpayer, the top 10 taxpayer of the state, the top 10 taxpayers of their range, and want to initiate an inspection against them. So Allahabad High Court said this is not possible. Reason to believe should not be fanciful, should not be arbitrary. They should be sufficient, and the reasons may or may not be communicated to the taxpayer, but the same should exist on record. So if you remember, FAQs of CBIC said it is not necessary to record that in writing, whereas courts are saying, especially the Allahabad court, it should exist on record. If does not exist on record, it means it does not exist at all. And whenever we go to department, it is always couple of years, maybe 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, when this would have reached the high court. By that time the tax officer would have been changed on the position. So it is impossible to remember everything. It is always good, court said, to make sure that it exists on record. So reasons to believe is not based upon gossips, rumors, suspicions, newspaper articles, magazines, etc., etc. It cannot be based upon those kind of information. So one of the very good questions was asked to me. The person said, "Boss, I have not filed my return for last 2 months. Can inspection be conducted?" So legally, answer is yes. If you have not filed your returns for 1 or 2 months, inspection can be conducted. But this is also only I'm saying legally and technically, but practically it is impossible for a senior tax officer to say that there existed reasons to believe that he has suppressed something. So normally you will not see this. It will only happen after the non-compliance of couple of months, and whereby he has lot of information based upon your input supplies or purchases in GST or 2A, whereby he believes that you are not filing the returns, you are not paying the taxes. In case, let us suppose your procurements are zero, which is quite evident from your GST or 2A, then of course you just need to file nil returns. In this case, I don't see any inspection happening. Yes. So guys, there was a provision under 67 whereby I will just go a couple of slides back to, in fact, so whereby I said there are three conditions in which inspection can be initiated. First is separation of supply, separation of stock in hand, excess claim of input tax credit, and the third is contravention of any other provision. So many of the people, in fact, many of the tax officers will come to you and say that there is a fourth clause under which it can be initiated by us at our will, and it does not even belong to first three parts. So guys, this is the principle of ejusdem generis, which states that of same kind or nature. Thereby, section 67, subsection 1, indulge in contravention of any other provisions of this act needs to be recognized in same tone and tenor in which the first three words are written. So ideally, can inspection be conducted for something related to suppression of value? I say yes, it could be conducted. Can inspection be taken up in cases where e-way bills are not being raised? Maybe yes, maybe no, I don't know. Can inspection be conducted whereby the person is not raising bill of supply? I don't think so. This is a very small procedural aspect. So with regard to procedural aspects, inspection would you will generally see inspection is not being given, whereas in case of suppression of value, suppression of supplies, wrong place of supply, not taking input tax credit, taking excess input tax, all these will lead to reasons to believe for conducting inspection. So five things. So for the entire inspection is complete now. Five things you must note. The authority must be in possession of the information to form an opinion that there is a reasons to believe. Must be in possession of information. Second, the authorized person must form an opinion himself whether reasons to believe or not. So opinion must be formed by the senior person. Third, the opinion found must be based upon the material available on record at that point in time and not in future. The court would examine the rational correct connection. So court is authorized to examine what is the connection between reasons to believe and material available. It's not that there should be no material available, reasons to believe. So material available is that the person is not raising e-way bills, but he has formulated an opinion that the value is incorrect. So both should have a nexus. Fifth point is very important. Court cannot go into the question of aptness or sufficiency of the grounds upon which the subjective satisfaction is weighed. So what courts can do, courts can see that the material is available. Courts can see that reasons to believe is available. Both have a nexus, but they say on merits, court is not adjudicating authority, or court is not doing the work of an execution, so they cannot go into the question of whether the grounds are sufficient or not. It is the responsibility of the department to see whether the grounds are sufficient. They'll just see that the grounds exist, that the material exists, both are in excess of each other, and if these three things are proved, the court, if you file any writ against such matter, it will be rejected. So fifth point is very important. So guys, if there is any question in your mind, of course you can put it in the chat box, and we will be taking those questions at the last. Okay. Going forward, so guys, as per now, inspection is completed. Now we are going into the provisions of search and seizure. First of all, let's understand what is the basic difference of search and seizure, because as we have completed inspection with and we see what is the difference between search and seizure. So when we say search and seizure together, ideally first is search, whereby you go in, you search something, and seizure is when you take up that and you do not allow the taxpayers to use that, or you take those goods or commodities with you and come back to your office. So ideally search and seizure are two words, but normally search and seizure goes hand in hand, because under inspection we don't say inspection and seizure, because per se under inspection seizure is not permitted. You can only go and inspect, whereas under search the primary motive is to search and then bring back all the goods or conveyance or metal whichever you find, right? So first of all, inspection is an act of examine something closely, whereas search is an act of finding something that has been hidden. The basic premise of the difference between inspection and search is, in case of search, the premise is something has been hidden, कुछ छुपा रखा है जो कि देखने से, जो कि ऊपर ऊपर एग्जामिन करने से नहीं मिलेगा. So for example, you would have seen this I remember this movie of Ajay Devgan. I don't So this, he used to break down all the walls, used to remove the fans, he used to cut down the sofa sets and pull out money from them. So that is search. In inspection, you can't do all this. You cannot break the wall, you cannot remove the, cut down the sofa sets, etc. So it's a very, very soft provision. Next, inspection is restricted to business premises. You cannot go to the home. You cannot go to the home of the employees, whereas search is a very, very harsh provision in which you can go to the residence of the individuals or the management or the
Can I start the
CEOs,
question?
CFOs also. It is governed by the provisions of Code of Criminal Procedure, whereas under inspection, Code of Criminal Procedures is not applicable. Okay. So next point, section 67, subsection 2, where the proper officer not below the rank of a joint commissioner, either pursuant to an inspection or otherwise has reasons to believe that goods liable to confiscation or books relevant to any proceeding under the acts are secreted in any place, he may authorize in writing. So please note, the wordings are almost similar. First of all, proper officer, not below the rank of the joint commissioner, either pursuant to inspection, यानी कि पहले आपकी inspection हो चुकी होगी. मोस्ट प्रॉब्ली क्या होता है कि ऑफिसर टेक्स एन ऑथराइजेशन फॉर इंस्पेक्शन, जब वो इंस्पेक्शन करके उसको कुछ मिल जाता है एंड यू वांट टू सीज समथिंग, तो वापस जाता है सीनियर ऑफिसर के पास और बोलता है मुझे सर्च वारंट दे दो, जैसे हम उसमें टीवी में भी सुनते हैं सर्च वारंट. और अदरवाइज ही हैज रीजंस टू बिलीव दैट द गुड्स आर लायबल टू कॉन्फिस्केशन which are relevant to the proceedings under the act are secreted in any place. So एक सबसे important बात क्या है, जब उसको लगता है कि गुड्स मुझे कॉन्फिस्केट करने हैं और ये इस घर में, इस बिजनेस प्रीमाइसेस में कहीं छुपा रखे हैं, तब वो सीनियर ऑफिसर खुद को या किसी और को ऑथराइज कर सकता है. So the main point of difference is secreted in any place, यानी कि छुपा रखा है. उसके बाद of course there are provisions where it is not practicable to seize such goods, तो आप seize नहीं करोगे, आप एक INS 03 दे दोगे, thereby the taxpayer will not be able to remove those goods. गुड्स का भी हो सकता है, डॉक्यूमेंट्स का भी हो सकता है, सीजर बुक्स का भी हो सकता है. अगर कुछ ऐसे डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं, कुछ ऐसे बुक्स हैं, कुछ ऐसे गुड्स हैं on which you have not relied upon, then those things should be returned within the period of 30 days. In case you have relied upon those documents, those books, then these can be retained. अगर कोई ऐसा दरवाजा है जिसको आप खोल नहीं पा रहे हैं, जिसका ताला गुम गया है, कोई अलमीरा है, कोई इलेक्ट्रॉनिक डिवाइस है, कोई बॉक्स है, कुछ भी है, तो उसको तोड़ा जा सकता है. ऑफिसर हैज द पावर टू ब्रेक ओपन इट. आपकी कुछ किताबें हैं जो वो आप सीज करके लेके जा रहे हो ऑफिसर, तो आप उसको रिक्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं कि सर प्लीज मुझे इसकी कॉपीज दे दीजिए, मुझे आगे बुक्स बनानी होंगी, तो ऑफिसर आपको उसकी कॉपीज दे देगा. अह, कुछ आपके गुड्स सीज कर लिए गए हैं, कुछ लेटर सपोज योर ज्वेलरी हैज बीन सीज, योर कैश हैज बीन सीज, तो इन सब केसेस में आप उसको कह सकते हैं कि साहब आपने सीज कर लिए, बट मुझे मेरे कपड़े यूज करने हैं, मुझे मेरा ज्वेलरी यूज करना है, मेरी बेटी की शादी है, मेरे घर वालों की शादी है, अब आपने कुछ भी सीज कर लिया, तो प्लीज आप उसको ओपन कर दीजिए. प्रोविजनल बेसिस पे मैं एक बॉन्ड एग्जीक्यूट करके दे देता हूँ आपको. देयर इज अ प्रोसेस फॉर ऑल दिस. कुछ अगर ऐसा माल सीज हो गया विच इज hazardous in nature, which is perishable in nature, for example कुछ केमिकल्स हो गए हैं, कुछ फायर क्रैकर्स हो गए हैं, तो इमीडिएटली द टैक्स ऑफिसर कैन सेल ऑफ दीज गुड्स। प्रोविजन ऑफ कोड ऑफ क्रिमिनल प्रोसीजर 1973 लगता है। और please note, people believe that search and seizure can happen to them only if they are registered, whereas this is not the case. Even if you are not registered, you are liable to be registered, then also search and seizure could happen. People, I have heard people saying that, boss, I am not registered in GST. If I am not registered in GST, how can someone come to my premises and search me? Yes, this is the point. Even if you are not registered under GST, still you are liable to be registered. It means you are a taxable person. आपके पास सर्च हो सकती है। अब the very important point is, what is the meaning of the word secreted? Supreme Court in case of Gyanchand versus State of Punjab 1961 said, it cannot be said that the documents have not been secreted within the meaning of section 105 of the Customs Act unless they are hidden. मैंने आपको बताया था कि provisions with regard to search seizure टेंडम में चलते हैं, चाहे वो कस्टम में है, चाहे वो जीएसटी में है, चाहे वो एक्साइज में है, चाहे वो सर्विस है, वो सब टेंडम में चलते हैं। Similarly, very well applicable. So Supreme Court in case of Gyanchand versus State of Punjab said the documents have not been secreted unless they are hidden. In the context of the section, documents which are kept not in the normal or usual place with a view to conceal them, or it may even mean documents or things which are likely to be secreted. Meaning thereby it should not be kept in the plain sight, it should not be kept at the usual place, it should be kept at a different place. वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, जब आपके पास कोई सर्च के लिए आता है तो वो क्या क्या लेके आएगा। जब आपके लिए कोई सर्च के लिए आता है, देन ही विल ब्रिंग अ सर्च वारंट। नॉर्मली अ सर्च वारंट विल हैव contents of a search warrant, violation under the act, premises to be searched, remember ground floor or first floor, not the entire premises, name and designation of the person authorized, who has authorized, to whom an authorization has been given। एक ऑफिसर होगा, सीनियर ऑफिसर जिसने ऑथराइज करा होगा, जूनियर ऑफिसर का नाम होगा जिसको ऑथराइज करा होगा, डेट एंड प्लेस ऑफ द इशू, सीरियल नंबर ऑफ द स्टेट सर्च वारंट, वैलिडिटी पीरियड, एक डिन नंबर भी होगा जिसमें नहीं लिखा है क्योंकि सितंबर 2000, तो डिन नंबर होगा, डॉक्यूमेंट आइडेंटिफिकेशन नंबर, वो सबसे ज्यादा जरूरी है, आप उसको जरूर चेक करें। In case the search has been conducted at a residence place, एक women ऑफिसर जरूर होगी। किसी लेडीज की तलाशी लेनी है तो एक women ऑफिसर जरूर होगी। सो अगेन बेसिक रिक्वायरमेंट्स क्या हैं, कुछ कोड ऑफ क्रिमिनल प्रोसीजर के, एक वैलिड सर्च वारंट होना चाहिए, लेडी ऑफिसर मस्ट बी अकम्पनिंग टू द सर्च टीम इन केस दे आर कमिंग टू अ रेजिडेंस। जब आपके पास वो आ जाएंगे तब कम से कम 2 इंडिपेंडेंट रिस्पेक्टेबल लोग बुलाएंगे सोसाइटी के, जो कि एक्ट करेंगे विटनेस फॉर द सर्च। कोई भी विटनेस होगा उसको कोर्ट नहीं बुलाया जाएगा, बट स्टार्टिंग ऑफ द सर्च और एंड ऑफ द सर्च ही हैज टू विटनेस। Proper, all the officers that has come, they will properly disclose their identity, they'll show you their identity card, they will allow you to search them before the search is permitted, so you can check them whether they have any cash or any other thing on their body, you can search them. After completion of the search, they will again allow you to search them once again, person के ऊपर search allow कर देंगे। After completion of a search, you will given a panchnama on the spot itself, which will be signed by you, will be signed by the officer, and will be signed by the witnesses. Prashant Nathalal Chauhan versus State of Gujarat, it was held that under section, so for search does not empower the officer to record the statements of the family member through force or coercion। अगर आपके ऊपर सर्च चल रही है, इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि आपके फैमिली मेंबर्स को कोर्स करा जाएगा, धमकाया जाएगा, डराया जाएगा, उनके मोबाइल फोन ले लिए जाएंगे और उसके बाद उनकी स्टेटमेंट अंडर ड्यूरेस ली जाएगी, स्ट्रेस करके ली जाएगी, ये पॉसिबल नहीं है प्रवेश नथालाल चौहान में। The search and seizure proceeding must be justified by formation of requisite belief at the time when the decision was taken to the search. Subsequent discovery of relevant material मैं आपको बता चुका हूँ, इससे कोई लेना देना नहीं होता। ये ठीक है। अब आ जाते हैं सीजर ऑफ कैश। Only those things can be seized which are relevant to the proceeding. Seizure of cash may amount to collection of tax without assessment, which is in contravention of. There is a provision with regard to Article 265 in Constitution which provides that no tax can be recovered without authority of law. और in case of search and seizure, तो जब तक एडजुडिकेशन नहीं हुई, असेसमेंट नहीं हुई, डिसीजन नहीं हुआ, तो आपका कैश कैसे सीज करा जा सकता है? आपका कैश सीज नहीं किया जा सकता है, नहीं करना चाहिए, होता है। What we have seen is practically होता है, but नहीं कराना चाहिए. So cash cannot be seized because this will mean the recovery of taxes under Section 79, which is per se not permitted. High Court of Gujarat, in case of remark floor mills, have said that practice of collecting post-dated checks during the raid is not permissible means of. So ना तो आप PDCs ले सकते हो, ना ही आप cash let कर सकते हो, but more or less PDCs, चलो मैं exemption मान लेता हूँ, but cash तो मैंने हर जगह देखा ही है, तो आपसे उठा के ले ही जाते हैं। एक बड़ा अच्छा ये पॉइंट है, वो कहते हैं कनिष्का मेहता एंड वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया के अंदर केस आया था। इट इज टू बी गिवन दैट व्हाट वी कैन सीज इज डॉक्यूमेंट बुक्स और थिंग्स। सो इन थिंग्स दे से इवन मनी इज इंक्लूडेड एंड देयर मनी कैन बी सीज। प्लीज नोट देयर इज अ डिफरेंस। प्रॉब्लम कहाँ पे आती है? मैं आपके घर आया, मैंने आपके घर से पैसा उठा लिया 1 करोड़ रुपए और उसको सीज कर लिया। अगर मैंने 1 करोड़ रुपया सीज करा, आई हैव सीज्ड 1 करोड़ रुपीज एंड आई हैव टू रिकवर 1 करोड़ 20 lakhs फ्रॉम यू, देन आई विल एडजस्ट द सेम। तब मैं उसको रिकवर नहीं करूंगा, तब मैं बोलूंगा मैंने पैसा ले लिया, मैंने आपसे 1 करोड़ 20 लाख लेना था, अब मैंने आपसे सिर्फ 20 लाख लेना है। सो दिस इज एडजस्टमेंट ऑफ द अमाउंट। दिस इज व्हाट आई से वेयर बाय द टैक्स हैज बीन रिकवर्ड। एक बी, ऐसा हो सकता है कि मैं आपके घर पे आया और आपका सामान रिकवर कर लिया, टीवी, बेड, फ्रिज, टेबल्स, चेयर्स, ये सब कुछ मैंने सीज कर लिया, बट मैं इसको बाजार में जाके बेचता नहीं, इसको मैं एडजस्ट नहीं करता हूँ, इसको मैं सिर्फ सीज करा एज गुड। सिमिलरली टू माय माइंड, कैश कैन आल्सो बी सीज्ड but only as goods, whereby you cannot set it off against the liability that is due to you. You can only set off, you can only collect that amount and seize it as goods like any other commodity, nothing beyond it. सो अगर ऐसा सीजर है तो मेरे हिसाब से परमिट होना चाहिए, बट व्हाट आई हैव सीन इज डिपार्टमेंट सीज तो उसको कर लेता है, बट उसके बाद उसको एडजस्ट भी करता है। सो एडजस्टमेंट ऑफ द सेम इज शुड नॉट बी परमिटेड। व्हेन ऑल योर अदर गुड्स आर बीइंग रिलीज, सिमिलरली कैश शुड आल्सो बी रिलीज्ड। इट कैन बी ओनली एडजस्टेड एट द टाइम ऑफ एडजुडिकेशन नोटिसेस एक्सेट्रा। बुक्स और डॉक्यूमेंट्स आपके कुछ सीज हो गए थे, तो कुछ ऐसे बुक्स एंड डॉक्यूमेंट्स है विच हैव बीन रिलाइड अपॉन बाय द टैक्स ऑफिसर बाय व्हाइल इशूइंग द नोटिस। ऐसी चीजों को रिलीज करना आवश्यक नहीं है, उसको रखा जा सकता है। वेयर एज दोज बुक्स एंड डॉक्यूमेंट विच हैज नॉट बीन रियलाइज, विच इज नॉट ऑफ एनी इंपॉर्टेंस टू द टैक्स ऑफिसर, तो इट इज रिक्वायर्ड टू बी रिटर्न विद इन पीरियड ऑफ 30 days फ्रॉम द डेट ऑफ, जिस दिन नोटिस इशू होगा 30 दिन के अंदर अंदर आपको वो सारी किताबें वापस मिल जाएंगी। ये हम लोग डिस्कस कर चुके हैं। स्पेसिफाइड गुड्स द मोमेंट दे आर सीज्ड, उनको बेच दिया जाएगा। न्यूज़पेपर्स, मेंथॉल, कैम्फर, सैफरन, सैंडलवुड, बल्क ड्रग्स, पेट्रोलियम प्रोडक्ट्स, ऑल दीज 15-20 आइटम्स आर देयर। राइट्स ऑफ द सेसी, इफ एज अ टैक्स पेयर आपका होता है तो क्या क्या राइट्स हैं? पहला, आपको पंचनामा मिलेगा, सीजर ऑर्डर मिलेगा, आप कॉपीज कर सकते हैं, आपके पास नोटिस आना चाहिए, यू कैन रिसीव बैक योर आइटम्स। सो गाइज, ये हमारा इंस्पेक्शन खत्म हो गया, ये हमारा सर्च एंड सीजर भी खत्म हो गया। देयर इज अ सेपरेट प्रोविजन अंडर सेक्शन 67(11) which says that any proper officer, if he has the reasons to believe that the person has evaded or attempting to evade tax, he may for the reasons to be recorded in seize the accounts produced before him। बहुत बार क्या होता है, आप ऑफिसर के पास जाते हैं अंडर नॉर्मल नोटिस और वो कहता है कि अपनी किताबें ले आना, बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स ले आना, वाउचर्स ले आना, सब कुछ ले आना, और जब आप उसके पास लेके जाते हैं वो कहता है कि जब तुम्हें ये सामान यहीं छोड़ दो, आप लेके मत जाओ। सो दैट काइंड ऑफ पावर डू एग्जिस्ट अंडर सेक्शन 67(11), whereby when you have already produced certain books in front of him, those books can be seized only after he records certain reasons in writing। Please note, ये वाला सीजर सीनियर ऑफिसर को नहीं करना है, ये कोई जूनियर ऑफिसर भी है, इंस्पेक्टर है, सुपरिटेंडेंट है, कमिश्नर है, असिस्टेंट कमिश्नर, he can also do, and there is no search in this. It is a direct seizure which can be effected in any manner as he wants, right? Uh, Guys, I think okay. So there are certain FAQs which has been asked to me time and again. Let me just spend 10 minutes in this, and then we'll try and take few queries. क्या सर्च पूरी रात हो सकती है? Can search continue throughout the time, night? First of all, no time limit has been prescribed for conducting a search action. ऐसा कहीं लॉ में लिखा ही नहीं है कि नहीं हो सकती. जब नहीं हो सकती, नहीं लिखा है, तो इसका मतलब हो सकती है. तो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बात है. बहुत सारे केसेस हुए हैं जहां पे लोगों ने बोला है कि जब आप सर्च एंड सीजर करते हैं तो हमारे फंडामेंटल राइट्स विच इज राइट टू लिव, राइट टू टॉक, राइट टू स्लीप, ये सब कुछ विदहोल्ड कर लिया जा रहा है. तो हाँ, कोर्ट्स ने अग्री करा है कि एट द टाइम ऑफ सर्च एंड सीजर ये ड्रकोनियन प्रोविजन है, तो योर फंडामेंटल राइट्स आर विदहेल्ड. देयरबाय इन ऑलमोस्ट ऑल द केसेस सर्च एंड सीजर रात भर चलते हैं. पटना हाई कोर्ट ने कुछ कहा. चीफ कमिश्नर ऑफ इनकम टैक्स केस में द ह्यूमन राइट्स ऑफ एन इंडिविजुअल आर पैरामाउंट एंड दे कैन नॉट बी टेकन लाइटली. No reasons has been assigned as to why it was absolute imperative to continue the search interrogation even till 3 a.m. So, पता है सर्च की बहुत बड़ी खास बात है. सर्च कई बार लोग कहते हैं 4-4 दिन तक लगातार चलती रहती है. मैंने खुद many of my clients have already faced this. So they said so one of the persons he was a rich man at that time 20 years ago, and the search was conducted. I mean, the point the tax officers have is he didn't allow the person to sleep. He said कि pay 100 crore rupees to the exchequer और इतना जमा कर दो, otherwise हम सोने नहीं देंगे. So, you must, if you're an intelligent person, please make a record of all these kinds of discussions. Tell officer very clearly that it is already 10 p.m. You're required to kindly stop the interrogation and continue it in the morning. बहुत सारे लोग क्या होता है वहां बैठे रहते हैं, घसीटते रहते हैं. प्लीज सब ह्यूमन राइट्स के ऊपर भी कुछ केसेस हैं, जैसे ऑनरेबल पटना हाई कोर्ट ने कहा कि ह्यूमन राइट्स आर ऑफ पैरामाउंट इंपॉर्टेंस. इट कैन नॉट गो आउट इन ऑड आवर्स विदाउट एनी रीजन. सर, तो आपको वो रीजंस क्रिएट करने हैं, आपको बैकग्राउंड क्रिएट करना है, आपको ऑफिसर को बात कम्युनिकेट करनी है, ऑफिसर का नाम बोलना है कि सर आपका नाम ये है, मैं आपको कम्युनिकेट कर रहा हूँ, मैं आपको लिख के दे रहा हूँ, प्लीज गिव इट एज अ साइन शीट टू मी. ये चीजें आपके पास बाद में बहुत काम आएंगी जब आपको इतनी, क्योंकि वो जब आए हैं एंड दे आर एक्टिव कोर्सिव इन नेचर, कुछ ना कुछ रिकवरी करके जाएंगे. इवेंचुअली द वे आउट इज हाई कोर्ट्स ओनली. वो चीजें उस टाइम पे, वो कम्युनिकेशन, नोटिंग्स, पर्चियां, राइट आउट्स बहुत काम आएंगे आपको. प्लीज डू ऑल दिस. रात भर हो सकता है गाइस. इट्स टाइम इज रनिंग आउट. लेट मी जस्ट कम बैक टू कुछ इंटरनेशनल केस लॉस भी हैं. आयरलैंड वर्सेस यूनाइटेड किंगडम, वेयर स्लीप डिप्रिवेशन एज अ पार्ट ऑफ मेथड ऑफ इंटरोगेशन अमाउंट्स टू ह्यूमन मिसट्रीटमेंट. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. और गाइस, सीबीआईसी ने पूरा डिटेल्ड रूल्स दिए हुए हैं कि अगर ऐसा नहीं है, रात हो गई है और आपका सर्च कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ, तो आप 2 विटनेस बुलाइए, कागज पे साइन करिए, चीजें बंद करिए, वहां पे पुलिस ऑफिसर छोड़िए, टैक्स ऑफिसर छोड़िए, और वो आपकी प्रीमाइसेस छोड़ के जाएंगे, अपने घर सोने जाएंगे, आपको सोने देंगे, अगली मॉर्निंग आके फिर से इनिशिएट करेंगे. गाइस, देयर इज अ केस जहां पे ऑफिसर्स ने वो प्रीमाइसेस नहीं छोड़ा, ऑल्दो उनको सोने दिया, they allowed them to sleep, but they stayed back at that premises. 3 या 4 दिन तक ये सर्च चली. ऑफिसर ने 3 या 4 दिन तक वो प्रीमाइसेस नहीं छोड़ी. हाई कोर्ट रेट हुई, हाई कोर्ट ने पूरी सर्च सीजर की प्रोसीडिंग्स कैंसिल करवा दी. बोला कि ये तरीका नहीं, यू कैन नॉट स्टे एट अ प्रीमाइसेस, यू हैव टू leave your people outside the premises or take care of the premises, but officers cannot sleep in the premises of a taxpayer. So rulings हैं सर आपके फेवर में. There is a long charter of what is the rights and duties of a taxpayer. So I have included all that for you. So कुछ 2-4 important cases और discuss करते हैं. Can statement of a family member also be recorded? Yes, but who is found to be in possession or control of any books of accounts, money, bullion, jewelry, etc. ऐसा income tax law में लिखा है. Whereas under GST law किसी भी आदमी की statement ली जा सकती है. ऑफ कोर्स अंडर कोर्शन नहीं ली जा सकती है, विदाउट रीजन नहीं ली जा सकती है, आप स्ट्रेस क्रिएट नहीं कर सकते हो, आप ड्यूरेस क्रिएट नहीं कर सकते. यू कैन नॉट वायलेट हिज पर्सनल स्पेस. कैन आई रिट्रैक्ट माई स्टेटमेंट? आंसर इज यस। होता क्या है, बहुत बार इन केस ऑफ सर्च एंड सीजर हम लोग स्टेटमेंट्स दे देते हैं और बाद में हमें लगता है कि हमने गलत बोल दिया, हमने गलत स्टेटमेंट दे दी। कैन वी रिट्रैक्ट? एब्सोल्युटली, इट इज योर फंडामेंटल राइट टू रिट्रैक्ट। कुछ बातों का बहुत ख्याल रखेंगे। अगर आप कुछ भी बोल दिया है, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, क्योंकि जो भी आपने सर्च सीजर में बोला वो रिट्रैक्ट करा जा सकता है और कोर्ट्स बिल्कुल आपके साथ है। यू जस्ट हैव टू प्रूव दैट दे वर अंडर स्ट्रेस ड्यूरेस। रात को लेट लेट तक जाया, आपको खाने को नहीं मिला, खाने को लेट मिला और बहुत टेंशन में थे, आप बहुत स्ट्रेस में थे, आपके ऊपर चिल्लाया गया, आपके ऊपर अब्यूजिव लैंग्वेज, अगर कुछ ऐसा हुआ है तो बिल्कुल कर सकते हैं। दो चार इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट। द मोमेंट द सर्च इज कंप्लीटेड, आपका हाथ में पंचनामा आ गया, प्लीज राइट अ लेटर। मैंने यहाँ पे बनाया, प्लीज राइट एन एफिडेविट, प्लीज हैव एन एफिडेविट ऑफ विटनेस, सेंड इट टू द सीनियर मोस्ट ऑफिसर्स, प्लीज गिव अ डिटेल्ड अकाउंट हुआ क्या, हाईलाइट द एरर ऑफिसर गलत कहाँ था, इन्फॉर्म सीनियर मोस्ट ऑफिसर्स। और इसमें सबसे ज्यादा जरूरी क्या है, जितना जल्दी हो सके बढ़िया है, ऑफिसर्स को बताएं, उसके बाद इमीडिएटली हाई कोर्ट में जाकर रिट भी डालें कि साहब प्लीज कैंसिल दिस बिकॉज ऑफ दिस, दे हैव रिकवर्ड आवर कैश, प्लीज गिव माय कैश बैक। बहुत सारे केसेस हुए जहां पे सर्च को इनवैलिड बताया गया है। मेजरली एक या दो चीजें होती हैं जहां पे द बेसिस इज इंटायरली इनवैलिड, विच इज रिलेटेड टू रीजंस टू बिलीव, या तो थे ही नहीं, या they were not related to the material itself, or they were based upon the hearsay, right? तो उस सब केसेस में सर्च को इनवैलिड बताया गया। ये पॉइंट इतना जरूरी नहीं है गाइस। समन, सो गाइस लास्ट टॉपिक, लेट मी स्पेंड 2 minutes। इंस्पेक्शन एक चीज है, सर्च सीजर एक चीज है, तीसरा चीज आता है समन्स। बहुत आम अभी क्या व्हाट वी आर सीइंग इज, इंस्टेड ऑफ गिविंग यू अ नोटिस, an officer is giving you a summon, whereby the summon is a very very strict matter। नोटिस पे अगर आप नहीं जाएंगे तो दोबारा नोटिस आता है, अगर समन पे आप नहीं जाएंगे तो इसको जुडिशियल प्रोसीडिंग माना जाता है और इसके इंडियन पिनल कोड लगता है और इसके अगेंस्ट आपको कुछ साल की जेल भी हो सकती है अगर आपने फॉल्स एविडेंस दिया या एविडेंस नहीं दिया। और समन का बहुत जरूरी बात है कि समन जिसके नाम पे होता है उसी को पेश होना पड़ता है। नॉर्मली कंपनी के नाम में समन सीनियर मोस्ट ऑफिसर के नाम पे दिया जाता है, मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर, डायरेक्टर, फाइनेंस डायरेक्टर, सीईओ, सीएफओ। सो प्लीज बी केयरफुल गाइस, जब भी आपको समन आता है यू हैव टू बी वेरी वेरी केयरफुल, बी अपफ्रंट, reply to that summon immediately. If you want to take an adjournment, please take an adjournment, please request, but please keep everything in a written manner. Otherwise don't lie in case of a summon, even if by mistake, if you are not sure about certain things, please be upfront that I don't know। summon में एक बात क्या होती है, आपकी स्टेटमेंट ली जाती है, आपसे एक एक क्वेश्चन पूछा जाएगा, यू हैव टू रिप्लाई दोस क्वेश्चंस, उनका आंसर लिखा जाएगा, एट द एंड ऑफ द डे आपको उस दिन के खत्म होने के बाद उस पर साइन करना पड़ेगा। नॉर्मली वी हैव सीन द स्टेटमेंट गोइंग इन फॉर आवर्स एंड आवर्स ऑन अ पर्टिकुलर डे। मेरा कुछ क्लाइंट्स हैं जिनकी स्टेटमेंट 5-5 6-6 बार हो चुकी है, जस्ट टू क्रिएट अ प्रेशर। सो दिस इज स्टेटमेंट आपकी 1 घंटे में कंप्लीट हो जाती है, बट जस्ट टू क्रिएट अ प्रेशर दे विल कीप यू सिटिंग फॉर आवर्स आवर्स टुगेदर। दे टेक अ स्टेटमेंट फॉर 1 hour, they allow you to go back and then come after 1 month, 1 week, 10 days। so this is a problem। and आज के डेट में नोटिस की जगह समन्स, बट प्लीज बी केयरफुल, दिस इज अ जुडिशियल प्रोसीडिंग, यू हैव टू बी वेरी वेरी केयरफुल। सारे पॉइंट समन के जितने भी हो सकते हैं मैंने सारे इसके अंदर डाल दिए, सारे एफएक्यूज डाल दिए हैं। व्हाट विल सेव यू, हाउ, व्हाट आर द प्रिकॉशंस, कैसे आपको करना है, व्हाट आर द इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स, व्हाट आर द की टेकअवेज, सब कुछ डाल दिया है। प्लीज बी केयरफुल, आई कैन नॉट ड्यू टू paucity of time। If there are any questions, I would like to take the questions also। uh,
Questions now.
yeah,
A
please, I
couple of
think।
questions.
Mm,
Huh,
mm.
okay, so first question is there any class of books mentioned in the law which proper officer can inspect?
So proper officer can inspect all the books. So under GST, I think section 35 mention a lot of books and records to be kept by you. He can ask and mention, he can ask and verify all those books of accounts, and they are not very detailed। So जितनी किताबें आपने रखी हैं ऑनलाइन, आपका टैली है, आपका ईआरपी सिस्टम है, आपके वाउचर्स हैं, आपके बिल्स हैं, आपके ईवे बिल सिस्टम्स हैं, आपका टू टू ए रिकंसिलिएशन है, आपके डायरेक्टर्स का नाम, पता, एड्रेस है, ईमेल आईडी है, सब कुछ चेक हो सकता है।
Okay, so next question is what is the difference between investigation and summons?
सर गाइस देखो, समन इन्वेस्टिगेशन में एन ऑफिसर इज कमिंग टू योर प्रीमाइसेस and then checking the things on face of it. Whereas in case of summons, he is inviting you to your own office, to his own office, and asking you certain questions which you have to reply. It is a kind of a statement. जैसे मैंने आपसे सवाल पूछूंगा आपके बिजनेसेस के बारे में, आपको जवाब देना है और उस स्टेटमेंट पे साइन करना है, ये हो गया समन्स। इंस्पेक्शन है, मैं आपके ऑफिस में आ गया हूँ और मैं आके आपका गुड्स भी चेक कर सकता हूँ, स्टॉक टेकिंग भी कर सकता हूँ, रजिस्टर भी मांग सकता हूँ, कैश फ्लोज भी देख सकता हूँ, कुछ भी देख सकता हूँ, आपसे स्टेटमेंट भी ले सकता हूँ ऑफ कोर्स।
Okay, okay. So, next question is recently CGST authority collected around 300 crores during search in UP. Are they entitled to do that? I think he's referring to a case called Piyush Jain. Manjesh, if I'm correct, please let me know.
सो गाइस, मैंने आपसे बात करा 265 एक सेक्शन है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन आर्टिकल है विच सेज दैट देयर कैन बी नो कलेक्शन ऑफ टैक्स विदाउट अंडर द विदाउट एनी लॉ इन एग्जिस्टेंस। ठीक है, अब हमारा जीएसटी लॉ क्या कहता है? हमारा जीएसटी लॉ कहता है कि पहले एजुडिकेशन होगा, एडजुडिकेशन के बाद नोटिस आएगा, नोटिस के बाद ऑर्डर आएगा, ऑर्डर के बाद आपको 3 महीना दिया जाएगा, वो 3 महीने में आप अपील फाइल नहीं करोगे, उसके बाद रिकवरी प्रोसीडिंग अंडर सेक्शन 79 चालू हो सकती है। मतलब एज पर मी माई लॉ एक पूरा कोर्स फॉलो करना है मुझे कुछ महीनों का, और उसके बाद 3 महीने के बाद जाके मेरी रिकवरी प्रोसीडिंग शुरू हो सकती है। And I think I have already given you 2 cases whereby it very clearly says रिकवरी दूर की बात है, आप पोस्ट डेटेड चेक्स भी नहीं ले सकते हो। तो पीयूष जैन केस आई थिंक इज वेरी वेरी फेमस, अभी ये आए हैं। तो रिकवरी कैन नॉट बी मेड, एब्सोल्युटली देयर इज नो डाउट अबाउट
Okay. So, next question is, can the officer seize
it। It
server
is
or
yes,
mobile
yes,
phones also?
yes, yes, officer can seize all these things। so there are many books, documents and other things। बुक्स, डॉक्यूमेंट्स एंड अदर थिंग्स के अंदर आपका गुड्स, आपके सर्वर्स, आपके सिस्टम्स, वो तो बिल्कुल चीज होते ही हैं।
Okay, sir. Can a state officer issue notice or summons without DIN with a note that it is not mandatory for state to do so?
सो गाइस बिल्कुल ठीक है, जो डिन का जो एक क्लॉज आया था वो सीबीआईसी ने दिया था, सेंट्रल बोर्ड ऑफ इंडायरेक्ट टैक्स एंड कस्टम्स ने दिया था, वैसा सेम स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ने नहीं दिया है कोई। सो आप सेंटर के जो नोटिस हैं उन पे डिन देखेंगे, स्टेट्स पे तो मैंने देखा ही नहीं अभी तक कोई।
Sir, can the officer
इट्स
block the
लीगल,
bank?
इट इज लीगल। इफ यू आस्क मी, इट इज लीगल, yes it is legal। there is no concept of din for a state officer। I don't think they even have that technology at state level।
Okay, so you're saying कि state level पे नहीं कर सकते, but central level पे कर सकते हैं.
सेंट्रल लेवल पे तो कंपलसरी है डिन, डॉक्यूमेंट आइडेंटिफिकेशन नंबर सेंट्रल लेवल पे हमेशा आएगा, अगर नहीं आता तो आप नोटिस फाड़ सकते हैं। वेरे स्टेट ऑफिसर्स के पास ना तो कोई उन्होंने ऐसा कुछ इशू करा है और ना ही उनके पास ऐसी टेक्नोलॉजी है।
But सर मतलब CGST एक्ट जैसे एप्लीकेबल SGST के लिए भी हो जाता है, तो वो isn't it understandable कि जो CGST के लिए सर्च एंड सीजर के प्रोविजंस होंगे वो उनके लिए भी होंगे?
नो नो, सो पहले तो इसको सर्च एंड सीजर से कंफ्यूज नहीं करिए।
अच्छा.
एक एक सर्कुलर आया, आई थिंक 199 नंबर था जिसका, आई डोंट रिमेम्बर द, हाँ 190/41, जिसमें कहा गया कि अगर सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से आपको कोई भी डॉक्यूमेंट, कोई भी नोटिस, कोई भी डॉक्यूमेंट आएगा बिना आइडेंटिफिकेशन नंबर के नहीं आएगा। तो ये सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने बोला कि अगर हम कोई चिट्ठी देंगे आपको तो वो डीआईएन के साथ देंगे। ठीक है, उन्होंने वो टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलप कर दी सीबीआईसी में। स्टेट
अच्छा.
गवर्नमेंट ने ऐसा कोई भी डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं दिया है, कोई भी सर्कुलर नहीं दिया है, वो देना भी नहीं चाहते होंगे और उनके पास वैसी टेक्नोलॉजी भी नहीं होगी।
ओके सर,
तो
ओके.
इसलिए स्टेट ऑफिसर्स आर नॉट बाउंड, सो दिस इज नॉट अ प्रोविजन अंडर लॉ। ऐसा लॉ में कहीं नहीं लिखा जीएसटी में, ऐसा डिपार्टमेंट ने खुद सर्कुलर दे दिया अपने ऑफिसर्स के लिए। उसमें भी लिखा यही हुआ है कि सेंट्रल के ऑफिसर्स देंगे, उसमें भी स्टेट ऑफिसर्स का नाम नहीं है, तो इसलिए
Okay,
स्टेट
sir.
को
Okay.
पता नहीं।
Next question is, can the officer block the bank account not allowing to pay employee salary or statutory dues, for example?
Manjesh ji, there is a section 83 which is known as provisional attachment of accounts। so provisional attachment के बहुत डिटेल्ड रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस हैं, बहुत ज्यादा उसके अंदर ऑफिसर बहुत स्ट्रिक्ट है वो लॉ, ऐसा नहीं कर सकते हैं, और डिटेल्ड सर्कुलर भी है किन की केस में कर सकता है। बट हाँ, अगर कर दिया है बैंक अकाउंट सीज तो ना आप एम्प्लॉय सैलरी दे पाएंगे ना आप स्टैट्यूटरी ड्यूज दे पाएंगे, आपको एक चिट्ठी डालनी पड़ेगी ऑफिसर को कि यू डू नॉट अग्री विद द प्रोविजनल अटैचमेंट बिकॉज ऑफ दीज रीजंस। अगर आपको प्रोविजनली अटैच करना भी है तो प्लीज रिलीज दिस अमाउंट फॉर पेमेंट ऑफ सैलरी, दिस अमाउंट फॉर पेमेंट ऑफ स्टैट्यूटरी ड्यूज। ऐसे करके आपको चिट्ठी लिखनी पड़ेगी और उसके अगेंस्ट केस लड़ना पड़ेगा।
Okay. So next question is, can the assessee obtain the copy of self-drawn statement?
मतलब ये क्या होता है?
Sir, I think
मंजू
is
जी, ये समझ में नहीं आया, प्लीज इसको दोबारा लिख दीजिए एक बार। नेक्स्ट
next
क्वेश्चन।
question is by Nevedya. What are the documents needed if the bank accounts are seized due to some problems faced due to FCRA matters?
So बैंक अकाउंट सीज, देखो, इफ द बैंक अकाउंट हैज बीन सीज्ड अंडर एफसीआरए लॉ, आई एम नॉट द राइट पर्सन टू आंसर यू। If the bank account has been seized under GST law, there is a detailed circular, section 83 के अंदर बहुत डिटेल सर्कुलर है कि वो सिर्फ एक ही कंडीशन में हो सकता है, when the officer believes कि आप डिपार्टमेंट का पैसा चोरी करके भाग जाने वाले हो या फिर आप डिपार्टमेंट का पैसा चोरी करके वापस नहीं दे पाओगे। तो ये मोटे मोटे तौर पे दो कंडीशंस हैं। अब प्लीज, आई थिंक दैट विल आंसर itself, राइट? नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन।
सर मंजेश का वही क्वेश्चन था सर, वो क्लैरिफाई करें कि ड्यूरिंग समर समन्स ऑफिसर आस्क्स टू ड्रॉ स्टेटमेंट, मतलब जो स्टेटमेंट
सो गाइज,
नोट
सो
है।
मंजेश जी बिल्कुल क्लियर। नहीं, समन्स के केस में तो स्टेटमेंट ही देनी होती है। जब आप समन्स के लिए बैठेंगे, ऑफिसर आपसे पूछेगा आपका नाम बताएं, आप बताएंगे मेरा नाम रजत मोहन है, आप क्या कार्य करते हैं, आप वो लिखवाएंगे। उसके बाद वो बोलेगा कि आपने टैक्स की चोरी करी है, आप बोलेंगे नहीं करी है। फिर वो बोलेगा कि जुलाई 2021 में आपने इतनी सेल दिखाई थी, मेरे हिसाब से इतनी सेल आ रही है, आप उसका जवाब देंगे। बोलेंगे आपने इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट 1 करोड़ रुपए ले रखा है इस महीने में, मेरे हिसाब से तो 20 लाख बनता, 80 लाख गलत ले रखा है, फिर आप उसका जवाब देंगे। ये आप, वो पूछता जाएगा, आप जवाब देते जाएंगे, पूछता जाएगा, जवाब देते जाएंगे, और जैसे से आप जवाब देंगे वो साथ साथ ही टाइप करता रहेगा। और जब आपकी स्टेटमेंट खत्म होगी, उसके बाद वो स्टेटमेंट आपको दे देगा, आप उसे पढ़ेंगे, उसमें करेक्शंस करवाएंगे और उस पर साइन करके देंगे। तो एब्सोल्युटली समन्स के केस में तो स्टेटमेंट के लिए ही बुलाया जाता है और कोई काम नहीं होता वहां पे।
नहीं सर, उनका क्वेश्चन है कि वो कॉपी मिलेगी स्टेटमेंट की, जैसे कि साइन करवा के दे तो दिया, बट उसके बाद क्या असेसी या उसको मिलती है कॉपी इफ ही
मंजेश जी
रिक्वेस्ट?
देखिए, एक तो पहली बात, स्टेटमेंट कंक्लूड कब होती है, ठीक है? अगर स्टेटमेंट आपकी कंक्लूड नहीं हुई है तो लीगली आपको वो स्टेटमेंट नहीं देगा। क्या होता है कि स्टेटमेंट कई बार एक दिन में कंक्लूड नहीं होती, 10 बार में कंक्लूड होती, 10 दिन में कंक्लूड होती है, तो वो नहीं देगा, पहले 9 बारी तो आपको नहीं देगा, ठीक है? ऑल्दो वो आपको पढ़ने के लिए देता है स्टेटमेंट, तो जिस टाइम वो पढ़ने के लिए देता है ना, तो प्रैक्टिकली अगर उस टाइम आप फोटो खींच लेंगे तो कोई भी नहीं रोकता, क्योंकि वो आपकी स्टेटमेंट है। बट अगर आपने एक बार साइन करके उसको जमा कर दी, उस केस में वो उसकी कॉपी नहीं देगा। स्टेटमेंट खत्म हो जाएगी, आपकी कंक्लूड हो जाएगी, तो अपनी शीट के ऊपर रिकॉर्ड करेगा कि मंजेश जी वी हैव कंप्लीटेड योर स्टेटमेंट। उसके बाद आप उसको चिट्ठी लिखिए, काइंडली गिव मी अ कॉपी ऑफ माय स्टेटमेंट। मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस दे विल गिव इट, मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस।
श्योर सर, आई थिंक इसके बाद क्वेश्चन सारे खत्म हो गए हैं, तो आई
ठीक
थिंक
है,
वी कैन conclude the webinar. Is there anyone who wants to ask any more questions? You can let us know. In case not, then thank you for attending the webinar. Thank you, sir, for presenting this topic. काफी confusion रहती है इस topic से related लोगों को, and a lot of clarity is needed. So thank you for presenting, sir.
थैंक यू सो मच, थैंक यू, थैंक यू,
Thank you
बाय।
so much. Okay. I think we'll be closing the session now. Thank you all for participating. सर एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन है, अगर आप लेना चाहें तो। आई थिंक सर इज गॉन नाउ। Jay, you can directly ask sir, from a LinkedIn basis. You can definitely speak with him if you have any personal questions or in case you need to take any consultancy from him. Second, there is the file with all of you. So thank you. I've shared Rajat sir's profile with you, all of you, and I'm also going to share our profile with you so that you can follow us. We actually take regular webinars. Please let me know in case you want me to cover some any specific topic in any webinar or any person you would want us to invite on webinars, because Next month also we're planning to conduct another topic on GST. So let us know if you're interested in any such topic, or you can directly write to me on LinkedIn, or I'm going to drop you my email ID also. This is my email ID. Please let me know in case you need any help, or if you want us to cover any particular topic. This is our LinkedIn page. You can definitely follow us here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much all for attending. You guys can also download the handout in case you guys need it. The PPT is available in the handout section. Thank you so much.